I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and welcome to the behind the scenes vlog of the 2025 ChemKnits Chanukah special. Throughout this journey, we're going to talk about everything that went into creating my 2025 Chanukah yarn samplers. Planning out the colorways, making the extras, the cards, the progress keepers, the packaging, doubts I had along the way. Basically everything I couldn't share with you because I didn't want to spoil anything until things came out. So let's go back in time to when I started working on this year's sampler. And we're actually going all the way back to October 2024. It's October 2024, and I'm already working on 2025. Here's one. I don't know if it's a good, oh, no, that's not a good one. Here's my whole pile. Oh, we end up with some that are seconds. There's a good one. 2025. I have to trim off those little itty bitty pieces, which isn't a big deal. But any extras the kids use as like fake money, so having seconds isn't bad. The reason why the 3D printer is not doing anything yet is because it's slowly heating up because I just started this next print. Now, you might be wondering why I am working on 2025 when 2024 Chanukah hasn't come out yet. I haven't even filmed the 8th night. Well, because I decided to work on the design of both at the same time and troubleshooting it both at the same time, because inevitably we always forget some of the settings, or sometimes there's some things that you have to finagle from the 3D design to get it so that way it can print okay, which was why I struggled with 2024. But we found that the 5 was working, so that's kind of what cued us in, that we were having trouble, the printer was having the trouble making the 4 happen. I figured I'd film a clip for next year's vlog because, well, I've already gotten started. And, well, you probably won't hear from me from another, like, 8 months. And here we go super slowly on the first few of that first layer. If you go really low, you can kind of see the tip working. I don't think I'm focused really well though. You can see it slowly extruding that filament. But I might actually be 3D printing something else. We'll see. You never know what future Rebecca will decide to do. Oh, we're gonna do the little dreidel now. Cute. If anyone's curious, it's an Ender 3D printer is the one we have. And I'd have to ask Keith for more details. I just pulled off the shipping label so I could unbox my big wool to dye for order. This box is massive, way too heavy for me. And I thought this is cute. They clearly wrote brown on the top of it to make sure that that was my order as they were packing it and to keep straight. That's adorable. I just want to take a moment and point out how sturdy the wool to dye for boxes are. This was a huge order, and they filled this big box with more cardboard to prevent it from getting crushed. And everything has always arrived in pristine condition. And so that's really, really good. It is mid-August 2025, and here I am unboxing a yarn order from Wool to Dye For that's gonna have most of the mini skeins I think I need for this project. Well, mini skeins and micro skeins, and then also some yarn I plan to use for Halloween, and some other yarns I just needed, and so therefore had to buy, because, you know, I had to, right? It is always a little stressful placing a massive yarn order like this, because not only was this particular order a really big one and an expensive one, but as I plan out the amount of yarn I'm gonna dye for Chanukah or SFSMS or anything, that's just stressful. And last year, I ended up with a lot of Chanukah yarn that was not sold. I sold out of the DK, and I had a lot of sock weight left over. So this year, I'm planning to dye more DK and less fingering, but it's still nerve-wracking, even though I know I need to spend the money because I need the yarn in order to create things. I had to spend some time sorting and counting out the minis, or the micro skeins. I had 17 bags of each. I also had some others on hand. I still will need to order yarn for the bonus full skeins, but I need to figure that out and plan that out still. That time of year where I have to start sorting all of the yarn for my Chanukah sampler. Okay, right now I have 800 minis right here, 50 sock, 50 DK, and I'm gonna have to split up some packages for the remaining minis that I need for each night. That's gonna take a little bit more work and counting. And now I have 130 minis in each container. I'm doing more DK this year. And yeah, we have some like partial bags and then some sort of loose like this. So that way I have the option of dyeing the yarn twisted or untwisting it. And whew, when I place my next yarn order, sorry, my washing machine's going. I will be ordering more of the minis because if something happens and I scorch one of the nights, I really want to make sure that I have enough yarn so that way I can like fix things if that needs to happen, you know? If I do not have enough yarn and something happens and I make a mistake or I burn or destroy yarn in some way, I want to be covered. But my plan this year is to have 8 10-gram mini skeins and then 1 20-gram mini that I think will be a yarn mop. I think is the way I'm gonna do it versus a bonus video, but that is still to be determined. So we'll see. I haven't partitioned out the 20-gram minis. I have at least 5 or 10 more than I'll need in these, but before I start dyeing with them, I will remove what I need. So that way, it's a way I can keep count of how many of the bonus minis I will need to dye. But right now, I'm just making sure what I have and what I might need to order for my next yarn order. So, woohoo! We're almost ready to launch. It's funny how opening a box of bare yarn that I ordered myself can sometimes feel like I'm opening up a big present. This is a really big yarn order. Not the biggest I've ever placed, but one that has lots of special yarn I'm so excited about. At the top we have some micro skeins and mini skeins. These are extras in case something happens to a batch of the Chanukah yarn that I'm dyeing. And then here I've got the fun yarn for the bonus skeins I'm dyeing this year. We have some 50% merino, 50% silk yarn. The drape on these yarns is incredible and they are so soft. And then we have a sparkly yarn, a lurex blend, which is another one that is super fun to play with. That silver and the lurex really pops after we've dyed it. October 7th, and I'm getting ready to dye, which I said in a previous take, and then my mind went, oh my God, I'm ready to dye yarn. This happens all the time. Whenever I do shorts or anything I need to add captions, I'm always having to change DIE to DYE, and I wonder if sometimes videos get suppressed because of that. But anyway, I am untwisting the minis into bundles of 10, but also some bundles of 5, because of course I don't have perfect 10s of both the fingering and DK weight yarn that I'm dyeing this year, but that's okay. It's going to be great. I'm hoping to dye up 2 colorways today. One of them is going to be like very monochromatic. I think it's going to be like white, gray, and black. And the white, I'm going to use the fluorescent like brightener. And so I'm very excited about that one. And then the other colorway I'm planning on dyeing today, I think I want to do the like dyes before yarn in a shoebox where I'll pour the colors into the shoebox and then add the yarn. But I haven't decided what colors I'm going to do there. And so, yeah, that is something that I need to figure out. But again, I'm very excited and I'm hoping to be done dyeing all the yarn by the end of October. And yeah, it's the second week. So we'll see. We'll see. I got to go get to it. I don't have all of my colors planned out today yet. And I know I'm going to want, I know I'm going to want to have a lot of bright colors. I feel like I go for like a lot of jewel tones very frequently because I love them. And I know there's another video where things are going to be very blended as well. And so I need to keep that in mind. But I'm thinking for those first 2 videos I mentioned, I think that this is the total amount of dye I'll use to get the brighter white on each of them. But then here, I think that that should be enough for dyeing 4 batches of 400 grams in each batch, I think. And then for my like dye before water, I was going to do just like emerald, magenta, and black. I do think I'm going to use emerald and magenta as the only 2 colors for another project at some point, because I really think those 2 colors mix beautifully together. But I've realized that I think for this one, I'll use some black. Hopefully we'll have some left from there. And I already have a Caribbean blue stock that I can pull in. I don't know if this is going to be too similar to one that I've done last year, but I'm thinking that the vibes of it are going to be really pretty, probably pretty neutral because of all the way those colors come in. So I think that that's where I'm headed. It can be tricky to decide the colors because I do have a document. I have like this PowerPoint of all of the past Chanukahs, so I can go back to look. And while there are always colorways that are different, I just want to make sure that the vibes feel different. But then also I want to put the colors together in an order where if someone is using them all in one project, that the order makes sense. But Chanukah isn't intended to all be used together in one project. And so the goal is more to create a bunch of different types of hand-dyed colorways to show off something like the fluorescent white. I think I'm excited to show that. And so, yeah, I guess the goal is to create colorways that are different from past years, but maybe using elements of things. Gosh, I'm excited. I'm so excited. Oh man. This is the first colorway that I dyed, even though I'm calling it B because technically the other video I called A, doesn't matter. I'm a little nervous because I feel like this could be too close to another colorway I want to create, because I want to dip dye yarn into deep magenta and emerald green. But everything here is more muted. We also have black and some blue, but I suppose we have like more green than we do both the black and the blue. And so my concern is that those 2 colorways are going to be too close together because they're going to be kind of like, I mean, it looks like right now that this is mostly like half one color, half another. And that dip dyed colorway would be similar. But what I need to remind myself is that when I dip dye, I'm going to be keeping some amount of the yarn out of the other color. So we'll have some pink with no green and some green with no pink. And both of those are going to be brighter than the really pretty blend we get of those 2 colors. And that's why I want to do that dip dye, because I think it's going to be really, really pretty. And so that's what I need to remind myself. And so that will be different. But you know what I can do? I could do that dip dye on my full skeins first. So if I do that on stroll first and then decide that the colorway is too similar to everything else I have going on, that's what I should do. I should do it there first. And if like, I could always include that as a bonus for this first video, and maybe do that on some 20-gram minis and have as a bonus skein. So, okay, there's still space for me to include that in the series, but I think it'll be brighter than this one. So it's like 2 different techniques, similar colors, different results, because it's not going to be exactly the same. I'll have to think. This is our dip dyed into green and pink. And here is the like dye before water. And so the green is probably like a little bit closer, but the pink is definitely reading more purple. Oh, and I'm not going to open it, but that color that looked very gray is reading way more green to me right now. Ryder just got home from school. The only thing I don't love about what I've done so far is that the 3 colorways we have are all kind of half one color, half another. And I know our black and white one is like a third, a third, a third, but there is like a repeating element to it. And I feel like there's one other night where I want to do a fraction one color and a fraction another. So I'm going to need to think about that a little more because I don't want the colors to be too repetitive. And yes, I'm exposing our extreme mess in my house, which I just realized. You know, maybe none of these are truly half and half. I mean, our dip dyed one is kind of like approximately a third, a third, a third, similar with our white, gray, and black. But one is a smoother transition and one is a harsher transition between the colors. We have that gray layer going on right now. So I'm gonna have to think really carefully about what I wanna do. Like if we're doing a lasagna and like, was I gonna do like half black, half the reverse rainbow? Because there was a request for a reverse rainbow, but I didn't want the colorway to be like too similar to what people got last year. And so I was like, okay, how can I do this differently? And I could do it differently by doing neons. I could scrap the idea of a lasagna altogether, which I also don't really want to do because I love that. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to think more because one of the goals of this whole series is to have 8 different colorways, which we are going to achieve. But I also want 8 different types of colorways. And yes, we're limited when it comes to mini skeins. You can do shorter color sections and larger color sections, but because the mini skeins are short and there's only 10 grams, like it's almost anything is going to be repeating because the asymmetry or non-repeating nature that you can get when you are dyeing a full skein of yarn is harder to do on a mini skein just because you don't have as many strands that you're dyeing. And so it's more likely to be more repeating. So I'm gonna have to think on this more. But I am excited with what I'm creating and I'm excited about these videos. And so I suppose that's the most important part because yes, I am dip dyeing twice, but those dip dyes are different. One of them is the continuous motion. One is like the set and hold, which I did once when I did like multiple different colorways using the same 2 colors and just shifted the techniques a little bit. I showed some of that there once, all in one video. So I hope that the videos will be distinct enough that people will be excited. And yeah, and I'll admit, I am nervous about having a ton of inventory left over. And that I'm not reducing the amount I'm dyeing too much. We will see. I haven't promoted that hard. And I think that that's the other thing that's been really hard. So I'm nervous, but we'll see. We'll see. Suppose this is technically video C that I'm working on, but man, 2 notes. One, my arms are way more tired from the continuous dip dyeing than they are from the like put in and just hold. The camera turned off. But the other thing is that it is so much easier to move the zip ties were up here to move them down to the other end when I can see the color. It's so much easier to make sure things are well lined up because I don't have to pull out the black light. So that is just amusing to me. I'm so curious once I start editing where I'm going to, like how I'm going to order these videos because like it makes sense to have this one next to the other pink and green. And then the lasagna I want to do, that could be next to the shoebox pink and green, which could then go into the black and white and gray because if I have the black and white there. So I'm thinking, but it depends on what else I create because this sort of has some cohesive story to it in some kind of order, but I like keep wanting to reference the black and white and gray dip dye video in the one I'm filming right now. But since I don't know the order, I don't know which one's going to come out first. But just look at the depth here. We've got the like darkest pink. I can't point on camera. There we go. All the way down there. A pastel onto white down at the other side. And that's just so different from what we got with our white, black, and gray. And again, that difference is because if you want to dip dye into black, it's really hard to get it to a pale gray just because of the like intensity difference. Now, if we wanted to smooth out that white, black, and gray, what you can do is dip dye let's just forget about the brightener, but dip dye your white yarn into the gray, get your gradient, and then bring in the black. Dip dye into the black, but never put it in too far. And you're probably going to want to remove it before all the color is absorbed. But do that continuous motion, and then you won't end up with that demarcation line. At least not as much. So, anyway, it's getting really hot in here. It was so cold this morning, and it's not anymore. You guys, I just did an Easter egg for Hanukkah, which I've never done. And I don't know if anyone is really going to clock it because like in one of the videos was like, don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain, which, you know, is a Wizard of Oz reference. But it's because when I was preparing to do the rainbow lasagna, I was also working on the die pot PS for October. And here is our average color, which is an awesome green. I'm really, really surprised. I'm halfway through the filming of the die pot PS. You can see our lovely twisted friends here. And then over here we have the top of our lasagna. Now, the yarn I did that was the average color, I am going to feature like a tiny snippet of it, so you can't really tell it's a mini skein, in the Die Pot PS video, where I'm dyeing twisted skeins, layering the color, just to show what the average color is. But those are yarn mops for Chanukah. And so I don't know if anyone's gonna think like, ooh, did she show us a mini skein early? Like, I never do spoilers, but I figured this is subtle enough that I can just have like a little swatch of like, hey, there was a time I added all these colors together. Here you go. I'm really excited about that. Really, most of the yarn dyeing happens in October, and today I will be done with 50% of the mini skeins. What is it, the 16th? So we're doing well. But what was I even gonna say? My point is that I, throughout the year, were like, ooh, maybe this would be fun for Chanukah. And I might say that in a video, right? That's not necessarily an Easter egg because I haven't actually started planning or working on it yet. So I'm no like Taylor Swift, even though we share a birthday. My arms got tired. And so, yeah, it's fun how it worked out that I like wanted to do something that was very requested and do it side by side. And ironically, dyeing 3 skeins of yarn with 6 layers is going to take way longer than dyeing 13 full skeins, 1,300 grams in a pan, just because of the like lag time and the wait time in between it. And so some techniques are better for doing like a lot of yarn and some aren't. You know how I said that I was filming a Die Pot PS at the same time as the Chanukah? Well, some of the files are really easy to tell what is what. Some of them, if it's a voiceover, I made a little Chanukah sign to know really easily. And some, you know, it's obviously going to be the twisted skeins. But some I'm going to need to go back and forth and check. But this is why I always sort my files into different folders, and I have like a whole organizational system, because otherwise like this mess would be like really hard to deal with in a month or two. I mean, I have to edit the Die Pot PS like next week, so that also helps. Remember how nervous I was that this was going to be too close to this? There's absolutely a relationship between them. We've got some like muted colors in the middle, but even the tone there is different from the tone over here. So yeah, it's different enough that I think it's totally fine. Although hilariously, I think the color combination I intended to do was deep magenta and forest green. But you know what? Emerald is awesome. I mean, that would have been incredible because it would have gotten darker and we would have had the pop-up bright, but I still love it. Love it, love it. Let's twist up some mini skeins for my Chanukah sampling. I always try to hold them in the same way, just for consistency. I prefer to take these variegated skeins and line them in this kind of way, where the colors match up, because I think it makes it easier to read on the other side. But this automated skein winder, and this is not an ad, this automated skein winder, the skein twister, is a lifesaver. Now, for these 10-gram micro skeins, I am twisting for about 6.5 seconds per skein. And if I wanted to do this by hand, I could. It would result in more like potential for an RSI, a repetitive stress injury. Or the other thing is that they would not be as consistent and beautiful, because the skein twister kind of functions as a third hand for me, because I can hold the yarn in one hand, twist with the hook, and then I have a third hand basically to fold it in half, giving us this really neat, beautiful twist all at once. And I don't know who first told me about this device, but game changer. Game changer. Really, really helped make my life easier. And so usually I'll find a new TV show to binge and then I'll get twisting. This one I rotated a little bit. That's okay. And then I'll have another day where I have to go wrap up all these minis. The packaging that I picked for this year is a lot of fun. Holding it a little wonky. Oh my goodness. But I figured we would try to finish off this 100-gram bundle. Now, if I'm going to wind 20-gram minis, I think I usually will do maybe 5.5 seconds on the twister. The thinner micro skeins can hold a lot more twist. But I remember when I used to twist everything manually, and I can handle way more. I would have to make sure that I had a good gap in between them. But now, I mean, here I have a pile of just about 20 because I did some more already, but I'm ready to go start wrapping these up. And so how long did it take me to twist these micro skeins? It took me about 2.5 minutes to twist all 10 of these 10-gram skeins. I'm about to start speckling on this colorway, and I love the way this came out so much. And I love the way this came out so much that part of me is like, why? Why am I doing it this way? Why isn't this just one of the Chanukah colorways and this one of the colorways? It's so hard to like go through my vision. And I'm realizing I did something with like the twisted skeins followed up with speckles over it once before, but not quite like this. And so I'm going to lean in because I think the speckles are going to be subtle on here. But sometimes it's really hard. It's really, really hard to follow through. And I could just stop and not do this. Ooh, I did it. I changed what I was going to do. And, you know, I'm okay with it. I think that both realizing that I had done speckles on top of the twisted skeins another year, also just loving that blue so much that I was like, I'm going to lose some of the character when I speckle on top, which isn't bad, but there's also not a lot of contrast between those colors I picked and the color I had. If there was more white, I don't know. I'm happy with my decision. And this is the nice thing about not filming the intro and conclusions of the video, but especially the big intro until I'm editing, because then I can bring pieces in to tell the story. I'm still a little concerned that I don't have enough bright colors for this Chanukah, that things are like moody and muted, which seems to be like a pattern for me. I know people like those colors. It's just, yeah, I still have 2 more videos to film, and I'm planning on doing a watercolory, like scribble dyeing. And I plan to do like a leave no dye behind, but on the twisted minis, taking advantage of that again, wiping onto the twisted minis like I did a few years ago. And the plan for that one is to film it last, even if it's going to come earlier in the series, to then, if there's any colors I need to feel like I make a cohesive story, then I can do it, you know? See, the first 4 colorways that I dyed up are all more repeating, and we have brights here. I've never done a colorway like that one for Chanukah. Those ones are some more muted tones. These ones are all somewhat repeating. So it's important for me for everything else to be more random or have shorter color transitions. I just want it to feel different from last year, which I feel like I am already. And then 2 years ago, oh my gosh, I love this one. Was that the twisted 3 times? Oh, and this one was like, I did the twisted minis and then I bundled it together and I did that, all those layers. So very, very fun. Differences. Ooh, I love that colorway. I need to not overthink it because I'm dyeing things that I love, that excite me, that I think are beautiful. And isn't that what is the most important thing to do? I think so. I'm sitting here washing yarn and I wanted to point something out. Here is the bottom of one of those aluminum pans, and see those little dark spots? Those are actually holes. You can see the light shining through them on this side. Tiny little holes. So why is that a big deal? I use these little aluminum steam pans to hold hot yarn as it cools off. And if the yarn is damp and not dripping, it's still usable. It's fine as a way to contain it. But sometimes I use them to catch water, and a little hole can mean a leak. So how did those little holes form? Well, that pan was involved with some yarn that I had used to speckle with citric acid. And so we could have had some citric acid crystals or concentrated, more acidic areas of yarn sitting on there, giving that hole. Because over time, acid will eat through the aluminum. Now, the bummer is that normally holes tend to form like when you use them and they sort of like crease and you see the little holes form where... Do I have any super old ones right now? Here's an older one. See how the bottom is less flat? And so then sometimes you might get holes over time at some of those creases just from like stress. Plus using like acidic yarn on there. So the bummer is that I noticed these holes in a pan that was newer. And so it's something to just be aware of. It's why I don't actually use these to heat the yarn or anything. I just use them to like as handy things to hold on to. But it's an important reminder to always check your equipment for weaknesses and things like that. So that way you don't have like a big oops or something that causes problems. Anyway, back to washing. It's fun when I get things like this that I don't think I've ever included in a vlog to include in the vlog. So, woohoo! I just did something I never ever do. And I filmed some conclusions while technically my yarn is still a little bit damp. Usually it takes yarn maybe about 2 days to dry. So I dyed the yarn and washed it yesterday. So tomorrow it'll probably be ready to go. It is 95% dry. Maybe there's just a hint of dampness to it. It's also raining, which, you know, leaves some moisture in the yarn. But I have a friend coming in from out of town tonight. And so tomorrow I'm hoping to work on twisting the yarn. And so then, yeah, I can do that while hanging out. Now, this is a reason why sometimes with the twisted skeins, I'm putting up that footage over voiceovers or with my talking head, because sometimes there's a big gap between when I film the conclusions and when I go and twist the yarn. And I can't always remember what I've already said or what I haven't already said. And so if I do the voiceover and add it as B-roll, then I'm much more likely to be thinking about what else I need to say or leaving notes to future Rebecca of what else to say. But I think this is so pretty. When I'm dyeing up my bonus full skeins of Chanukah, why am I using stroll and not platinum? Because all of those mini skeins down there are wool to dye for platinum, either in fingering or DK. And while it's the same yardage and fiber content as stroll, they have different sourcing. The big reason is convenience. I happen to like stroll a little bit better than platinum, but platinum comes in mini skeins and micro skeins and it's so convenient and I do really like it. But I like stroll a little bit better if I was going to pick a base. And I have dozens, not quite hundreds, but I have dozens of skeins of stroll in my house at any given time. So it's always in stock. And there was one video this year where I did not dye full skeins. And so therefore having the fact that I have stroll in the house means that that's the one that I'm going to use. If I wanted to stock platinum sock and have that on hand, then I could use that. So the simple reason is just one of personal preference and what I stock. We have kids playing various video games here, but I'm starting to make the cards. Different colors, metallic cardstock. And this says Chanukah Sameach, which means Happy Chanukah in Hebrew. And I'm just adding a little bit of glue to attach it, and hopefully they don't fall off. If they fall off, I'm very sorry, I don't have another option. And then I'll sign them all on the back. I've had this Cricut for years now, and I love her. Someday I'll upgrade to like one of the next versions that can do some more things, but oh man, it would be awesome to be running 2 at a time as well. But not now. So just cutting out, this is the slow one. the metallic is a faster cut. I'm also working on making progress keepers, but these little penguins are so cute. They're supposed to be like a stuffed penguin with like little stitches on them. And I love penguins. I got married at an aquarium. So I'm very excited for these to come together. The cards are coming out cute. And I'm starting the number labels. I'm a little nervous. They're going to be hard to read under the organza. Of course, like right now I'm looking at under 2 layers versus just the one that it would actually be. And I know the snowflakes could obscure the dates, but I'm hoping that it'll be cute. I just wanted to do something different than what I've done before. And I don't know, I think that it's fun. And in theory, if you wanted to attach the number onto your mini skeins to keep track of which one was from which date, you still kind of can do that. But I'm thinking about efficiency of packing and everything. Kiddo, what you doing?
Sorting stuff for you.
Oh, yeah?
Label.
Labor? Oh, man.
Label.
Well, what do you think you're going to get in return?
Video games?
Yeah.
ZA.
So is it worth helping Mama?
Yes. It's actually kind of fun.
It is fun to sort the numbers?
You never heard me say that.
Even before I told you you'd get video games for doing it?
Kind of, yeah. Well, after I do my homework, right?
Oh, have you done your homework? Oh, maybe you should pause and go do your homework then.
Okay, good idea.
Oh, Ryder is helping me. What a gem. So when I started making cards, and I counted how many of the like backs I had because I knew I was going to have one extra because I had one page with an error. But now I am gluing the last ones. I'm going to need to make more, but the last ones I have so far, I have 6 backs, 6 fronts, and I didn't count these. Ah! Okay, it's just nice when things work out. Now I can count exactly how many I need to make for however many more I need. Wait, so I counted. So I have 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 10, 20, 36. How did I get this so close to right? I know I counted the backs right, and I had like just the one extra. How did I get exactly enough? I guess I must have counted better than I thought. You know, doing my notes, I knew the number. I was just so tired yesterday after finishing things. But you know what this means? If I have my mouse, it's hard looking at the phone, but we are all done. I just have to sign them. Woohoo! The lids are all in my containers, but I put them in a preliminary order. And I think this could be what I do. The main things I was considering this time are wanting to have more repeating longer sections of color, sort of interspersed with the more random, less repeating colors. So we've got repeating, not repeating, not, I mean, that's more tonal-ish, but not repeating. Repeating, that one is random, and then repeating. Even though some of the Luno die behinds are repeating on top. And so it's not like a color blend story, but it's fun. And then we can start with this one and the little black light. I'm gonna sit on it, but I think it's the way we're gonna go. And so, oh my gosh, I'm gonna need to get the A, B, C, D so I can put everything in the right. I'll show you in a sec. I'm gonna need to double check that I have all these letters correct because that's how I have the files organized. I am twisting up the silk yarn and it is so soft. It is such a joy to twist yarn this soft. And that was where I realized I can't film this one-handed. That is not going to work. Oh man, but I love when I get to twist a super soft yarn. It just means I get to touch it and feel it, and I adore that. And so I am just going to go ahead and continue twisting. But it's so pretty. And the nice thing is that when you watch it twist, and when you see, like, yes, we've got a lot of colors in here, but also when you step back, you don't see as many, and you can really see the twist in here. That means that you can probably use this with some complicated-ish stitch patterns. Because all the colors are at a similar, I mean, there are saturation differences, but they're at a similar level of saturation. So even though it's variegated, you can get away with a lot. And so when the twist is well defined like that and you can really see it, then that to me is a signal that it can really work with a lot of stuff. But yeah, the zip ties I used for this one all started off light, and they have a little bit of color on them now. I am not currently concerned that they're going to be bleeders, except for the fact that we did use Caribbean blue, who is a bleeder. So Caribbean blue, it could be an issue. But otherwise, I'd probably use those for anything I'm going to do that might have medium color, like this kind of technique. I would not use them necessarily for something when I was going to do that. It was going to be pastel, or I was going to do speckles. I'm more likely to grab new zip ties for that. So anyway, I'm going to carry on. And I can do one more point of view. Ah, I love it. Before anyone says anything, there are similarities between like the silk and the sparkle bonus, but this is way more purple than that one. In my mind's eye, I was like, oh, are they similar? No, they're very different, but yeah, in my mind's eye, they were a little similar for a minute. As I watch a bit of today's video in the other room, I need to give a spoiler warning if anyone plays the Blueprints game, just because the background is about to be our notes from the game. So spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Yes, we covered my wall with paper and have been writing all over it. So that's what that stuff is. It has nothing to do with Chanukah. But anyway, I decided to not overthink things. And the order that I showed, I think in the last clip, is the order I am going to go with. And so I have now labeled each of the boxes. You can barely see it, with the theme of the video, the letter designation from the order I dyed it, and then the number. And I have that written down in multiple places. I also wrote it down. You can see my handwriting is lovely. And I think that this is the order I am going to do for the bonuses. And one other thing that I don't know if you've noticed, but when people order multiple of the bonus skeins, I try to throw in a variety of different progress keepers. So I have one that is like the main one that I make sure each person will get at least one. And then I'll use like a different like sparkly bauble. I haven't decided what I'll be using, but so sometimes if they get multiple, then I have something fun that maybe I don't have that many of that I include. But one other thing I decided to do last minute was include a little blacklight keychain that you can use. I mean, these work way better in the dark. Awkwardly holding things on my knee. But you can then see the fluorescence in the white and then some like from the gray. It's not showing up super well on camera, but in person you can see the fluorescent pops. It may actually work better on a yarn like this where the fluorescence is like more random. And so then you can see like those little pops that are there. But I thought it would be fun to include. It was a last minute decision. There's sometimes a tiny bit of fluorescence in emerald green, which I think is super cool. You can see it on some of those bonuses. But anyway, this will be with night one. Hopefully they work. I have not tested that each of them work for everyone. So fingers crossed. Side note on the black, white, and gray yarn. My mom loved black and white. And I remember being at a yarn show and there was this really fun like black, white, and gray speckled yarn. And I remember looking for a skein that didn't have a little bit of hint of yellow and red. And I think at the time when I was doing that, I was unaware that a lot of black dyes broke. And so they must have been speckling with like a toner black or a jet black or something that had those other colors in there, which, you know, they decided to have as part of the colorway. But I remember trying to find one that had as little of those colors as possible to make my mom, I think it was a, oh gosh, what was that? Jagged Ed hitchhiker scarf. That's the one. And so I made one of those for her. And so for whatever reason, like looking at this colorway, which is truly white, black, and gray, it just makes me happy and think of my mom, which is odd because she also loved rainbows. But you know, I'm having a day when I want to film some vlog clips and I don't even want to go into the other room and turn down the volume on my own voice. Here are the full skeins for the first 7 nights in order. I did not have any full skeins for the rainbow lasagna. And I like the progression. I know things are different. Specifically, that one's going to be very different from the mini skeins, and so is that one. But I like it. I like it a lot. I'm just amused that I'm looking at the progression first on full skeins before I go ahead and look at it with the minis, but I am so happy. It's funny because we had full skeins from every night but 8, and now we have yarn mops from every night except for night 1. We have a combination of tonals, traditional wiping the hands off, just trying to use up all the leftover dyes, and they're all a lot of fun. So I need to go start wrapping them now. And we have these little dreidel markers. Thankfully, I did different colors for the fingering weight and the DK weight, so that way I can tell the difference besides just one says sock and one says DK. So I'm just going to go start labeling and wrapping these. Most of the time with mini skeins, I will wrap them in batches. So I'll do like 25 fingering weight, then 25 DK weight, wrap the boxes and ship them out, just because that makes it go a little bit smoother. But with the bonus skeins, those I go ahead and do all at once. That way, if someone is ordering multiple sets, I can make sure they get bonuses from different nights, and I just have everything all ready to go. The bonuses are wrapped with the date in these little bags. I love that there's dreidels, little oil jugs, menorahs. Super, super cute. Very Hanukkah. It's hard to find a lot of Hanukkah packaging, so I was excited when I found these ones. I'm a little concerned that the numbers are going to flip around, but you can shift the organza to read the date, and I think it's pretty obvious it's number 1, and you can see the thing in there. But yeah, I'm interested in feedback because I haven't tried it quite like this before. I've put labels on the inside with the number and date on it, but I haven't done it quite like this. I love the holographic sparkle on that tissue paper. My biggest concern is that the numbers are going to flip over. I mean, like this one flipped upside down. You can still tell that it's a 1. Hopefully I picked the numbers so that way if they do flip backwards, then that should be obvious, I hope. But the first round, I'm doing mostly fingering weight. I'm doing a handful of DK because I have an international order in both fingering and DK weights. And I always try to get the international orders out with the first batch because those can take the longest to ship. And assembly line style, I'm wrapping the mini in the tissue paper, putting it in the bag first. Then I'm adding the extra if there is one, and then I add the number and cinch it closed. I'm just working on labeling all the bonus skeins with their yarn labels so then I can go wrap them because I think I'm ready to start shipping. In addition to shipping the international orders out first, I then go and do the most complicated ones, like if someone ordered multiple samplers, because then I can try to make sure, okay, if there's multiple colors on night 8, maybe they can get a few different colors, or they can make sure to get different bonus skeins from different nights. Because if I waited towards the end, then I might only have 1 night of bonuses left and then can't give that variety. Also, there's a couple orders that have a 2024 and 2025 samplers this year, which I'm very excited about. And so I need to make sure to include all of that stuff in there as well. And so sometimes some of those orders require special boxes. Sometimes I need to get a bigger box in order to ship it. And so I try to do those in the first batch. And then I try to go through in approximately the order things were pre-ordered. You know, if you pre-ordered it, like one of the first, I try to ship it out first to the best of my ability. But usually the whole process takes about a week. If I'm lucky, it'll take less. So normally I try really hard to get the stickers straight. So know if you have one that's really not centered or a little crooked, the Chem Kids were helping out with all the stickers. Believe me, I'm not trying to put blame onto them. It's wonderful that they helped me. They actually were helping me while we were playing the blueprints last night. Keith was driving, I was wrapping minis, and the kids were doing stickers. And so, yeah. Oh, and we beat the game on day 18, but we still have a lot of questions. The sunlight's pouring in, and it's making the tiny little glitters on the tissue paper sparkle in their holographic glory. I'm so happy. Maybe a little easier to see those little rainbows on the sparkle with the whole paper. When someone orders multiple sets, I try to both make sure that bonuses are from different nights. We've got a fingering and a DK weight one here, but I still try to do that. And I also try to make sure if I have different colors of the cards, that the cards are different colors. So that way the whole thing can be the most enjoyable. Here we have 2 sets. We have a fingering weight set and a DK weight set. You can see the little fluorescent light is completely visible right now. It won't necessarily be visible in all of them, but when you open, you will see some extras. And I think on some yarns, maybe you could see some of the color through, but in general, I try to make sure that the yarn is hidden. You can see the little numbers there. That the yarn is hidden, and that you have something that you open that is pretty and exciting. Now, if you are ordering multiple and you want multiple of these boxes, I would recommend ordering them separately, because if someone orders multiple sets, I do my best to include them all in the same box, just because otherwise, I'd need a really big box to put multiple boxes in, and that gets very expensive. Yeah, but I think that this year's set is gorgeous. And then I'll use bigger box. Sometimes the full skein will be a little more compressed than this. If someone has a bonus, this particular box could fit 2 bonus skeins. And so we have something like this. I love using wine organza bags to wrap full skeins of yarn. I find that they're the perfect size, and then you could reuse them for a hostess gift or something. And so I like and hope that the fact that they're useful. I know that I'll use them for hostess gifts, but then you can pack it up with a packing slip and ship it. And finally, the card goes on top. And if the boxes are too small, I'll tuck the welcome letter in. The welcome letter tells you what to expect, and then when the nights will come out, that things are labeled, and that some of the organza bags have extras. I'll lay everything out soon. At the bottom of every package is my business card with a coupon code that if you're watching the vlog and you've come this far, you deserve to see that you can use the code Chanukah 2025 for 20% off the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop for the rest of December 2025. We're in December and I'm on full editing mode. I like to have the mini skein next to me as I am editing. Now I film the talking heads for the videos as I'm about to edit or during the editing. That way I can fill in any missing gaps, and it helps me not pre-plan the order of the videos too much. My goal this year is to have the 8 main videos edited, maybe not annotated or anything, but have them edited by December 10th. Oh no, do I have to do it by the 9th? When we get the new DLC for Pokemon Legends CA. We'll see if I get there. Oh, and I may be shiny hunting as I'm editing. If you know, you know. I'm filming the talking heads for night 5 right now. It's December 5th. I'm very proud of myself, but I like my hair today. And my pajamas. I'm really happy I found these pajamas because I had them still partitioned from coming back from our winter break last year versus with all of my other Hanukkah pajamas. So I'm very, very happy. And not sponsored or anything, but I do get these pajamas from Hannah Anderson. And the 4 of us, actually 5 of us, and if you include the dog, we all love them a lot. In the winter, I tend to do a lot of overnight heatless curls because as it gets staticky, I don't like my hair touching my face as I sleep. But last night I tried with no water on it, and I like the results, so. Here's a little bit of everything all together. We have our card, the bonus packaging, the packaging for the individual nights, our 2 bonus colorways on fingering or DK for the silky one, the sparkle with Lurex is right there. The little bonus that came with the bonus skeins. If someone ordered multiple, then there was a second progress keeper. And then, of course, we have our 8 nights of yarn. I popped in the middle here a bonus 20 gram mini. But here is the progression of our 8 nights. And you can see that I tried to keep the 4, I guess there's 4 colorways pretty much that are like almost half and half, that would be more repeating. And then we have 4 colorways. It doesn't quite go every other. 4 colorways that are a little bit less repeating. And so that is how I divided that up. You can't really see the menorah board I'm on right now. And then our little extras. If I had not explained yet, well, we have our black light, where you can see the little bits of fluorescence pop up. It's easier without the closet on. It does work pretty well in person. Like you can see the little black light blue over there popping up. Ooh, that's cool. But it's hard to pick this up on camera. We have our 2025 Gelt that I 3D printed. We have some DNA from ChemKnits, penguin, winter themed, plus I love penguins. And then we have this little oil lamp because the miracle of Chanukah is that the oil lasted 8 nights. And I thought that putting that out on night 8, it's in one of these, was pretty darn cute. So yeah, this is pretty much a wrap on what we did this year. Oh, and since I was recently editing these videos, obviously these are the speckles that were supposed to go on that base originally. But then the colors I had pulled for the gray are the colors I did on here. And I just did a different technique with them. Instead of doing speckles, we did something that gives kind of chunky speckles anyway. But I decided to do the yarn mop technique with the colors I'd originally planned to go on there. So you can let me know in the comments if you think that shifting all of that was the right call. Tonight's about to be the 4th night of Hanukkah, and I'm finally starting to edit the vlog. And thankfully, I've realized out of the hour and 45 minutes of footage that I started with, I think a lot of that is shorts that I made along the way, and so isn't part of the vlog. So when I actually go through, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be really easy for me to cut out, which is a bit of a relief. But I usually start with about 2 hours of footage, so it's not that unusual. Last night was the 8th night of Hanukkah, which means that today is technically the 8th day of Hanukkah, but the first bonus video will come out tonight. And I'm done editing the vlog. This is the last clip I need to finish everything off, which means that I am almost officially done with Hanukkah. I still have some short form content I've made along the way, including recaps from some of the nights that I need to edit, but otherwise, we're in really good shape. And he's not going to want to look at the camera, but Indie Pods did not want me to pick him up. Especially because I don't have a cookie right now. Can you say hi? He just turned 14 and a half. I want to thank you so much for joining me for this series, and especially this long behind the scenes vlog. But it is so much fun to celebrate Hanukkah with all of you, and I love hanging out in the premiere chats. I know I'm probably not there right now. This video is coming out on the 24th, and that's the big night that we celebrate Christmas with my husband's family. And so that is probably why I am not there reacting to me saying this right now. But to all of you who have been showing up every night, whether or not you chat or not, thank you so, so much. Please subscribe to the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel. If you're at this point in the vlog, you probably are subscribed already, but please make sure you are. This is by far the biggest thing you can do to help support all of the content that I create. And we have a lot of fun colors that are going to come up in 2026. Now, 2025 isn't over yet. There's a couple more videos, but still. We're looking ahead to next year, and we're going to have a lot of fun playing with color and yarn, and you don't want to miss any of it. And I probably still have some Chanukah yarn left. So go ahead and check out the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop. I'll have links to the products down below. YouTube may even be tagging some of them throughout the video. And so you should go check that out and bring some home. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and thank you so much for watching.